All right, we're back. I skipped last weekend show. I was up in the hill country checking out a bunch of guns and prepper stuff, and maybe I'll be going over some of that when I do another weekday show, which I don't know when that's going to be yet, but we'll see how it goes. I've been kind of just taking a break. I needed a break, so I've been doing that. Anyway, Kay Granger has a page up about an executive order, the National Defense Resource Preparedness. We touched on this topic before, but we're going to go do it some more. And before we go there, I want to remind everybody this is the Politics and Prepper podcast at TalkShoe.com. And Saturday night, which is tonight, we do mostly politics. We're not stuck on that, but that's mostly what we do on the Saturday night show. And you can find us here at TalkShoe.com on Saturday night, and the show number is 120315, and the name is Politics and Preppers. You know, if you listen to this show, you probably already know that we've been losing our rights left and right for many years. It's not just Obama. It's been the left and the right for many, many years now. And it goes way back, but it's just gotten so bad. That's part of the reason I started this show, to try to do what I could to fight it. So anyway, Mike is going to read from the pages on this topic over at Kay Granger's website at kgranger.house.gov. So, Mike, are you ready just to jump in there and give us the title of it and read it?
Sure. Yeah, we put the link up on the chat room there, so if you're live, listen, which doesn't look like anybody is, but you can see the link. But basically, this was posted on her website back in March 30th, so this was signed back March 16th of this year, 2012. And her title is a weekly e-newsletter, an executive order you should know about. And she says, "Dear friend, with all that is going on in Washington these days, some things don't make the news the way they should," which we all know that. 14 days ago, President Obama issued an executive order that you should know about. This order gives an unprecedented level of authority to the president and the federal government to take over all fundamental parts of our economy in the name of national security in times of national emergency. This means all of our water resources, construction services, and materials, such as steel, concrete, etc., our civil transportation system, food and health resources, our energy supplies, including oil and natural gas, even farm equipment, can be taken over by the president and his cabinet secretaries. The government can also draft U.S. citizens into the military and force U.S. citizens to fulfill labor requirements for the purposes of national defense. There's not even any congressional oversight. Only briefings are required. By issuing this as an executive order, the president puts the federal government above the law, which in a democracy is never supposed to happen. As president and commander-in-chief in the armed forces, he has the constitutional authority to issue executive orders. And while similar orders have been made before by presidents from Eisenhower and Reagan to Clinton and Bush, it has never been done to this extent. It is still unclear why the order was signed now and what the consequences are for our nation, especially during times of peace. This type of martial law imposes a government takeover on U.S. citizens that is typically reserved for national emergencies, not in a time of relative peace. And of course, she says she's going to follow it very closely, because I guess that's basically the end of her message.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's kind of a weak response. I mean,
yeah, I was thinking that same thing. I thought it was kind of weak. Maybe she's a congresswoman. Yeah, maybe she just didn't know what to do about it right then, or maybe she's just one of those weaklings that are up there that we don't need.
That's a cover your ass statement.
Yeah, could be. But, part of where I have a problem with this is, for one thing, they could draft me. I ain't fighting for that son of a gun no matter what, unless I want to. And if something happens that I feel like, I think I'd be too old anyway, but that's beside the point. The way it reads to me, and I did jump over to the link and read a bunch of it, I couldn't tell you what it said. I can't read that stuff and understand it, and I don't know how many people can unless you're a lawyer and versed in that type of stuff.
We had talked about it a few episodes back, and when I first read it, it alarmed me because I was thinking more on I was concentrating more on the food supply part of it, because it was saying you could take over factories, like private companies that make food and have food supplies, and they could just take over it, And
and I can kind of see some of that in an emergency. But one of the things that I have a problem with what I just mentioned, that you can just throw me at my ass in jail because I ain't fighting for that son of a gun for nothing, unless something happens that I felt like I could, I needed to, I wanted to. But it's been a long time since I would have gone to join the military and fought for this country, because I just can't believe in the presidents. Now, back when 9/11, I would have probably jumped in then, but I can't just. I'm not going to go fight for another Vietnam, Korea type situation, and just. But anyway, I'm hearing an echo. Hopefully that's not too bad.
I don't know what that's from.
Yeah, I don't know what it's from either, but I don't even know if it's coming over recording. But we'll just deal with it the best we can. And the food, like I can kind of see in a national emergency, but I always felt like, I thought they had to go through Congress to, like, just let's stick on the draft thing, okay, because that's part of it. I didn't know in the past, and I am no expert at this, but I thought to reinstate the draft, they'd have to go back through Congress, and I could be wrong, but I don't think so. So once again, he's jumping out of his realm of power and doing whatever the hell he wants. Al, were you trying to say something?
Yeah. They within a month or so ago that, I mean, if you go back and look. Yeah.
Al, you got some difficulty there. You're breaking up real bad. Skippy, try to say something. Let's see if you're doing all right.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, go ahead. That sounds better right now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's this headset I got. Okay. If you go look, just a couple of months ago, the Secretary of Defense told Congress that Congress no longer okays war. They get their orders from the UN. Just go look it up.
Well, basically, it's coming from the president, which follows the UN.
Yeah, pretty much they're going to do it, and they're not going to defund it because they just ain't going to do it, because it would be too much of a pressure on them from the people, because usually, the people will follow along with something like that. But that still, even though it should have made my mind think about that then, but it just didn't come up with the draft part of it. That, like I said, that he can just, okay, here, we draft you. But they're not just saying they can draft you into the military. They're saying they can draft you and put you into labor, which we've come up with that topic before in different ways, labor camps and re-education camps and stuff. But why, why now?
But that was with the congressional approval.
Yeah,
right?
With congressional approval.
Have we ever done it before without Congress approving it?
Not that I know of. I'm no government historian, but
yeah. They put the Japanese in internment camps in World War II, but that was done in Congress.
Yeah, which was probably wrong, but I can understand it. There's been a lot of talk about how that was done and why it was done, and it went even further than that. There was people that were born here, white as could be, couldn't be, or other colors that couldn't be even thought of as having anything to do with the German race or the Japanese race, and they were put away just because they didn't agree with the government. Which that's you're not going to find that in many history books, and if you do find them, that's not going to be talked about in school or anything. But a lot of the things were done wrongly then too. But back then, as now, the press didn't discuss a lot of things that probably should have been discussed. But that was an all-out war. And it was a little bit different, even though things were done wrong. I'm not saying they were right. We learned from our mistakes, hopefully, but it doesn't seem so because we've made mistakes in the past and we just don't seem to be learning from it. We're losing our freedoms and we're just letting it happen because people won't pay attention.
Here's the scary part. I was talking to you earlier that now the president can declare war, or not even declare war. He just goes to war. He bombs countries without getting any kind of approval from our Congress anyhow. And then now he can go to war. He can get us into a national emergency, and then he can just start taking things to support his
take equipment, take food, I'm sure he can confiscate your money if he wants to, like gold, silver.
I mean, we're one step away from fascism there. It's just one guy that can convince unfortunate people that it's worth doing.
I thought, when first Obama got in, that people were going a little overboard with using Hitler as a reference to Obama, but I don't think so. I think he's just as dangerous, if not more so than that, because of the power of this country. And there's so many people that will go along with a bunch of this crap that's just ridiculous. And I feel like I'm one of the for instance, back in, during World War II, Hitler, there was a lot of Germans that didn't like what was going on, but they couldn't stand up. Or they didn't stand up, they couldn't stand up, or wouldn't stand up, too scared to stand up. And if they would have, maybe on a lot of that, maybe it never would have happened. But I just keep looking back at World War II and seeing so many things that are so similar. The tactics being used to separate people, separate, divide, conquer. So much hate for anybody that doesn't agree with them, whether it be the Jews and that's just a tool, that they're using. It seems like there's so much stuff being discussed, anti-Semitism these days. I've never seen it in my lifetime get this bad. It's always been there, and that's just one tool they use. They got to find something for people to hate, whether it's rich people, and rich people are the way it's being discussed now is, you don't have to make $1 million a year to be a rich person, but you're terrible if you have money. A little business guy down here that maybe has a business that does $1 million, that's considered rich. Well, that doesn't mean that he has $1 million. He might be making a decent living for his family, but he's also probably got employees that he's doing with that too. But when people just don't realize $1 million isn't that much in a small business, that's just nothing really for a small business to have $1 million income. But then you start taking everything out, paying employees and overhead and such, that's not really much money. No, but yet they're talked about that way. If you got any money, you're a terrible person. That's bullshit. That's what got us the freedom that we've got is our, just the freedom to do all these things. Is they're so intertwined, and I just don't understand.
Divide and conquer. That's what it is. It's divide and conquer.
Yeah. We're having problems with you jumping in and out again. Yeah, it is, and that's part of the tactic, divide and conquer. It's been around for a long time. I see you put a link in there, executive order.
There's a wikipedia.org executive order, just explaining the history of how executive orders have been used, and obviously a lot of them, or some of them, have been scrutinized for not being constitutional.
Yeah.
And certainly these are approaching kind of ridiculous.
Well, Al, I wish you weren't having difficulty there because I wanted to jump over to another topic here when we're in a little bit. And you were going to be involved deeply in that.
Are you still having problems? Are you still having problems hearing me?
Yeah, I'm still having problems. Are you on a cell phone?
Yeah, let me switch over to Skype.
You're in and out.
Yeah, you're setting out.
All right, I'm gonna get on. I'm gonna go to Skype.
Okay. I can bring you in through my call on Skype.
That's probably how you have to do it.
Let me see if I can do that.
Just call them.
Skippy, if you got something you want to put in there, go ahead and do it while I'm trying to do this.
Yeah, like I was saying, if folks want to go to wikipedia.org and just search executive order, the executive orders apparently have been used since 1789. But from what I understood, they only really were used just to kind of help things get executed within the government. Make sure things got done correctly, and most of the time they weren't even really that public.
Yeah, I don't know how many executive orders he's put out since he's been in. I haven't looked at that. I didn't get a chance to today. It occurred to me, but I didn't get around to it.
Well, there was one of the big ones was whenever there was some kind of executive order that they interpret as giving the president the power to not go to war, but to use troops to attack a country without getting congressional approval. So I wish I knew more about it. I got to educate myself a little more, but people can at least get a background on it off of Wikipedia. At least that's kind of publicly, controlled. That's a website, so you can get a more public opinion on it. But
well, I put Al in on my Skype call, but I don't know if he's figured out that I did, because he tried to call me on my other Skype on the other computer. Al, can you hear me? Hey, Al. Okay, let's try it again here. Go back to, if you can fulfill any information while I'm trying to do this.
Yeah, go ahead. I put a link up. I guess maybe we have one guest. I'm not sure if that's Al or not. I did. Hello?
You there? All right, let me see if I can get Al in now. Something happened.
Yeah, I think we lost our connection.
Al? Hey, Al? Call failed.
There he goes. I think he's on now.
Al, you there?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. All right. Now I'm not sure if the
Success.
but I'm not sure if the show is still going. So
Yeah,
let me.
I can tell you.
All right.
Yeah,
Well, it sounds like it. Yeah, I got the other computer going. It sounds like we're still on. But okay, everybody, we're back. We had a little technical difficulty. But you sound better now, Al. So
Yeah.
I think we need to go with Skype for now.
yeah, that's why I bought this service, because I can bring y'all in, and it sounds much better. It seems not to have too many problems with it, except for I couldn't get you added in. And it disconnected me, so I had to restart it. But anyway, all right, we got the technical problems just going here. But, all right, they can come in by order of the President of this United States, which I hate to say, and he can take food, he can take equipment, he can draft you to be in the military or do whatever kind of labor he wants. And it just goes on.
Well, you got to remember, it's not only this president; it's any future president.
It's any future president. But hopefully, someday we can figure out how to eliminate all these problems. But this is not going to be anytime soon. We get rid of all this stupid stuff. But
what kind of executive order couldn't they write? I mean, can they write an executive order saying that we have to pay for health care?
Yeah, why didn't he just go that way? If he's, I mean,
it seems like the next step is it's going to be something that needs to be done in their eyes. I'm
going to say you can't have cars that burn fuel. They have to be gas. I mean, they have to be electric.
Well, no, you got to remember now, executive orders apply to federal employees.
Well, this one doesn't, because he can draft me.
Yeah, but see what...
And he can take my business, my privately owned business.
Yeah, but see, you got to look at how they're going to do that. They're going to send federal goons to take your business.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
He's not going to do it himself.
No, what I'm saying is the taking of your business, it's... what he's stating is they can do all that, but that's why they're federalizing the police. Now, I mean, if you go look, if you start doing any research in it, you'll find that they're now federalizing all the police. They've already federalized the National Guard. So effectively, they've taken away each state's control of the National Guard, and they're taking away the state cities and control of their own police department. They have federal liaison people in the police departments now, and so all he's going to do is when he does this, he'll issue an order to go and do this, and then that order is going to go out to these federalized goons, and they're going to go and get whatever he wants. Go take over whatever business he wants, or they're going to round you up and take you off and force you into labor camp or however they want to do it. And
right.
And if you you start looking at the NDAA says they can torture you, they can disappear you to where you don't get a lawyer. All they got to do is
re-education camps.
All of that. It's all in the NDAA. The NDAA just expands on all this, but it's none of these are executive orders are coming from the president. These are all coming from the Bilderbergs.
Yeah, but through the president.
Yeah, but I feel, we talk about that too, but I gotta talk about it. Go ahead.
That's why it's not going to go away. I mean, you could elect no matter who gets elected in there. It's a two-horse race. The Bilderbergs are in control of both Obama and right now they're in control of Obama and they're in control of Romney. So
we're not going to get rid of it in the next presidency. We got to just keep stroking and keep fighting and find some answers and do something. Maybe just the next presidency slows down a little bit, but I don't see much more than that. That's my best hope. I don't see any big changes except for slowing it down, and I don't like that. I want to see some major changes, but maybe it takes a while.
The reason this is accelerating, which it is, it's accelerating faster and faster. And the reason it's doing that is because more and more people are becoming aware of what's going on. And as more and more people become aware of it, they have to accelerate their plans. And
maybe that's going to be their downfall because people are finding out about it. They push too hard. They push harder. The harder we fight back, the more people find out about it. And maybe that's going to be what it takes. And how that comes about, whether it be from the ballot box or us demanding change in other ways, I don't know.
Not going to happen in the ballot box.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I'm not sure how it's going to come about, But
well, I heard a question. I was listening to Alex Jones Friday, and somebody called in and they said, "How come these senators and congressmen don't stand up and fight back on any of this stuff?" And he had the answer for it, which I've been aware of this for a long time too. He said, "Go to Washington D.C., where these hotels and restaurants and stuff where these congressmen are, and you'll see some of the most beautiful women in the world there. You got this old 60-plus-year-old congressman with a 21-year-old beauty, with him. They've got pictures of them. They hide all the evidence they want on them. Those guys have to go along with. I mean, they've done hopped in bed with these girls, and
Well, some of it, I believe that's exactly it. Whether it be that or they just have trash on them, information on them that
at all times,
one way or another. And some of them, I think, just believe in it. They think they're better than us, the elite. It reminds me of King back in you've seen some of these old movies, where they have all these rich people with all this power, and they got this king sitting there, and lop off his head, and they're all just laughing about it because they're just all these people out here are nothing. They're little slaves, and that's what this stupid.
What do you mean they don't do anything? Kay Granger put a thing on her website.
Oh, whoopsie!
Yeah.
I mean, she's taking chances.
She's a woman. It's kind of hard to get pictures of her with a 21-year-old, beautiful.
Yeah, but she might be out with some young stud.
Well, I probably, chances of that aren't going to happen. It's a lot easier to get, it's a lot easier to get man in a compromising position. I mean, even Ron Paul talks about it. He says that he always has people with him, and he never goes into a hotel room without having it checked out first.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
I've heard him say that. Yeah.
They play those games all the time. That's what they do. You show up in Congress up there, and you'll go in a hotel room, and there's some
That's the problem,
hanging out in your bed, and then some guy pops in with a camera and gets pictures of it.
And I want to tell you something. If people that listen to this show and listen to those kind of comments like that and think that, oh, that's just ridiculous, no way, that's just stuff you see on TV. Well, where the hell did you think TV people came up with the ideas in the first place?
Absolutely.
From the truth.
So all of a sudden they get a picture of you with some woman, and they say, hey, we can send these to your wife. Vote this way.
What happened back when people had enough honor to stand up and do the right thing? I mean, there was a time in the United States, people in Congress, they had,
I think the last time they did it were the founders.
Yeah, that's what I was referring to.
Yeah, they were wearing they were wearing powdered wigs when they were at the honor.
Yeah, and all those guys. I'm not saying they were perfect, but they understood because they lived under tyranny, so they understood what was going on. So I guess that's what we've got to get back to. And I've said this for most of my life, adult life, and maybe a little bit before my adult life, because for me, I was seeing it before that. It's just it's got to get really bad before it gets better.
The ironic thing is, so if you had a bunch of guys now they got together and said we're going to rewrite our government, they'd end up writing what we already have.
Well, it depends. A lot of people would rewrite the Communist Manifesto and the Socialist bunch of crap in there. But okay, we have covered this stuff off and on throughout several shows. Now, what I want to do now, and I'm going to jump over to you, Al, is you sent me an email a while back and you put some videos up. Why don't you tell people where they can find those videos and explain as much as you want to about the videos, and we'll talk about that for a little bit.
Well, you're gonna have to refresh my memory because I put a lot of videos up. It
was the group that got together here in Texas a few years back, and you put 4 or 5 videos up on it was about
you talking about Agenda 21?
Yeah, it was about Agenda 21, and it was a conference about people that are fighting against Agenda 21.
Right.
So that's what I wanted you put those videos for people to see, and I'm hoping to use the show to lead people to your videos and help inform them.
Okay, well, let's see. They could search on. I hate to give out my name on this.
Well, if you don't want to do that, you don't have to.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's getting pretty crazy out there. I did post some videos about a conference that was held here in the state on Agenda 21, and you can go to YouTube and do a search on Agenda 21, and you'll come across these videos. Just search in Google, you'll find all kinds of videos about it. But Agenda 21 is.
What was the name of the conference that was here? Do you remember the name of the conference that does have to do with?
Wasn't the Bilderbergs, was it?
No, hang on, I'll go get that real quick. If y'all want to chat about
yeah.
Hey, I got one thing real quick while he's
go ahead.
I didn't realize this, but on July 7th, just a week or two ago, the president did another executive order for assignment of national security and emergency preparedness for communications functions. So basically giving them the right to take over, the Homeland Security to take over any public companies, in order to control the ability to be able to communicate.
Yeah, so that we can tell the
kind of
truth about what's going on.
Yes, it's kind of vague, of course, which makes it nice.
Course.
It kind of makes it imply that they could take over radio stations, TV stations, internet providers some way.
They wanted to be
in times of an emergency. It seems weird that they're putting all these things out in times of an emergency.
Well, there's rumors about something happening in October.
Yeah,
because he wants to make
planning
sure he gets reelected. And in times of crisis, historically, the president will be reelected, but I'm not sure if he would be. I think that there's enough people maybe not do that and know that they are expecting that and would fight against it and work against it. And it may be make sure he didn't get reelected, although, like we discussed, how much difference is going to make whether he's reelected or not, except for maybe they'll slow things down a little bit, which is okay with me. The more we can slow it down, it gives us more time to get the information out, and there's a lot of people trying to get the information out.
Yeah, it's really crazy. I mean, I don't even see why. Say there's some kind of national emergency, and the government starts taking over businesses and starts taking over radio stations. You think people are going to know that they signed any executive order because they don't talk about it? So either people are going to uprise against it, or they're just going to say, "Well, the government can do whatever they want."
Well, I'm an optimist.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure people will rebel against it. I'm sure will enough people.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Will enough people? I think it depends on what part of the country you're in, and maybe even what city and what part of the country you're in.
Yeah.
There's some cities here in Texas that I think wouldn't take but 5 minutes, and the town or city would be back where it should be, and they would be fighting against what was going on in the whole area. But there's other cities. San Antonio, I don't think would, even though you would think they would. But there's a lot of Democrats in San Antonio, and I've said it before. I used to think Austin was bad, but San Antonio's just getting almost as bad as Austin.
But whenever World War II, or maybe even World War I think World War II, when a lot of the companies that made cars and parts and they were in toys, they were converted to make like ammo and military vehicles and things, right? So were they done? Were they seized by the government, or did they develop contracts to do that?
I don't think they were seized. There was contracts in a lot of companies. They wanted to jump in. That was a different thing. They were wanting to get the contracts. One, because there was a depression.
Yeah.
All right, and they wanted
to make it work,
and they would go out and compete against each other to get the government contracts. Now, again, I am not a historian that knows all these answers.
That's kind of the way I understood it too. I didn't know for sure.
I do know for a fact that there was different contracts fought for, and when one company won a contract that they couldn't fulfill, they would find another company to help them do it. Like the Jeeps, there was more than one company building the Jeeps and the boats, and and not boats in general, but one specific type boat would be maybe that company that came up with the idea and won the contract couldn't do enough of it. So
it'd be interesting if something like that happened today.
Yeah, we lost Al again. I'm going to jump.
Okay, good.
See if you can fill in a little bit. I'm gonna see if I can add Al back in here.
I was talking for like 10 minutes earlier, and we weren't even on the air.
Yeah. I think it was all blank.
Yeah, I didn't realize you'd lost connection. Okay.
Let me see if I can get Al back in here real quick. Al, you back? Hello.
It's connecting.
Hello, Al.
Hold on. It's not. There he goes.
Sorry about that. When I jumped over to YouTube, Skype hung up.
Okay.
I posted the first video in the chat room there.
Okay.
But I mean, Agenda 21.
Well, what was the name of the group that was doing the
Freedom? It was their website. I believe was freedom21.com.
Okay, so they could, if they want to find those specific videos, that they can probably find it with that name.
You could find it with that name or just Agenda 21. There's a whole ton of stuff on YouTube.
I was just trying to narrow it down a little bit because if you put Agenda 21 in there, you're going to find just buttloads of stuff.
Right.
It's okay. It gets people a start. But I thought that group of videos you put in there was a really good starting place. You got a lot of information, not all of it, but it gave you a lot of information. Really could get you up to speed. And then if you wanted more, you could go find more. And that's why I was doing it. But, you know, that's really what was going on there.
Yeah, we were talking about, like, they're basically, well, for instance, the smart meters that they're putting in everywhere, that's all part of Agenda 21. Just total control.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there going to where they can have their house, they can take their phone and make the different things in their house work, and it's like, okay, well, you just let the government have access to your house and do anything they want to with it. They want to shut down your electricity or make you use less electricity, they can come in and do that, whatever they want to do. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it covers even down to what kind of food you can eat, which healthcare is even going to get into that. You know, in other words, the government's paying for your healthcare, so...
well, there'll be another executive order. If they don't do it one way, they'll do it another. They'll say, well, you can't have Cokes anymore. Oh, they're already doing that by size. You can't have Cokes that are bigger than... God, what a stupid... It's freaking ridiculous. They're going to probably say, oh, chocolate. You can't have those big bars of chocolate anymore.
You're not even allowed to have a website that says you shouldn't drink Coke.
Did you see where San Francisco is working on a law that you got to reuse plastic bottles, you know, like plastic bottles?
Well, I'll tell you something. Now, maybe I'm just a little ahead of my time, or maybe I was behind the time. You know, I don't know how to describe this, but remember back when we had glass bottles? I don't know.
I remember that.
You know, it was just after they went from the stone wheel to the wood wheel, right? Mm-hmm. And anyway, we had glass bottles, and they were talking about how much of a mess it was and how bad it was for the environment. So they go to plastic. I'm going, what? That doesn't make sense. People go pick up glass bottles and turn them back in and get money. Let's go to plastic where they won't have any reason to pick them up. There's no motivation financially to pick them up. So you throw them away, you don't use them again. And that was before the recycling of it. It never made sense to me. It's just more trash. Now, I don't know. I suspect that some big company owned by somebody in the Vanderbilt group or whatever, you know, that's how we're going to make a bunch of money. We're going to expand the plastics and make plastic bottles, and that's how people are going to be able to buy, you know. I don't know. It was ridiculous then, and it still is.
Well, I can tell you why they did it.
Go for it.
There's a chemical called BP.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it now, but anyway, you get it from drinking stuff out of plastic bottles. It's kind of hard to pass chemicals along to you with glass bottles.
The BPA?
Yeah, BPA.
Yeah. That makes sense, yeah. I didn't put that together with it, but yeah.
Yeah.
There's a reason.
Another way of poisoning us.
Yeah.
I guess fluoride wasn't killing us fast enough.
No, that's exactly right.
Yeah, other than statin drugs, they're saving you. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Although, you know, my dad's been on them for cholesterol stuff for years, and he's in his 80s and doing fine, but I don't think that means everybody will. I think that's, you know, a lot of the stuff they do doesn't necessarily affect one person the same as another.
And he's doing fine, but how many prescriptions is he on, do you think?
Well, way too many. High blood pressure.
Like my grandparents had like 12 pills.
Yeah, I know of 2 that he's on. I don't know of any other ones.
I mean, it's just you take one, it creates another side effect. You got to take another.
Yeah, I've seen somebody.
Well,
that's what they're trying to do to me already. They're trying to give me, I think, 1, 2, 3.
And they don't cure. And they don't cure anything. All they're doing is they just cover it up.
They want me on cholesterol drugs. Luckily, I don't have any high blood pressure problems that they could find late last year, and they probably would have tried to put me on high blood pressure medicine if I did. And with this injury I had, my doctor that's been looking after me wants me to go back to my regular doctor and get rechecked for high blood pressure. And I tell him the reason we checked last time was because of an injury, and he wanted to make sure, and I hadn't had a physical in a long time. But it will probably happen the same thing. As soon as the pain's gone, my high blood pressure will go down. As long as I don't keep listening to Rush and Al, Alex, and my blood pressure will probably go down.
Hey, Steve, let me clarify something. The government doesn't want to kill you. They want to keep you sick enough that you need more meds.
That's right. They want
to keep you alive when the companies die. When the companies,
all right.
I want companies.
I want to go to something else now. I really, Al, we were discussing the preacher's video at the check stops. Right. Now, I watched several of his videos. If they're the same one, I did not find it over at on the website over at Alex Jones or any of this. So I went to YouTube and I just looked around and found what I think was probably the video you were talking about, and it was a preacher that works down along the south borders, and he was pulled over.
Well, he's actually from Tempe, Arizona, which is just south of Phoenix.
Yeah, he runs back and forth to like Texas and Arizona area.
Right.
I think a lot. And so that's probably the same guy. Now, I'm going to bring up something real quick, and there's one thing about I don't like that I found out about him is that he said he was praying for Obama to die. I don't like that. But that's really not the focus of what's going on here. The topic that I see is he was beaten and tased by the Border Patrol or agents thereof because he didn't want his car searched. He wouldn't go along with him. He was trying to stick up for his rights, which I totally 100% agree. You go through one of these things, they don't have the right to just pull you over and say, I'm going to search your car. And you can just keep saying no. And they don't have it. But they didn't like that, so they beat him up. They broke the glass in the window, pulled him out of there, and beat him up and tased him. And in the long run, he won the court battle against it. And but it was ridiculous for them to do that. So I watched some of his other videos, and I'm sure some of the people are going to say he's antagonizing them and some of the stuff he says, but he really went about it fairly nicely compared to what I'm afraid I might do. After a while of sitting there telling the agent that, look, this is my car, this is my right, I don't have to let you search it, you don't have a search warrant, so leave me alone. And I probably wouldn't be that nice after a while of arguing with this guy. I would probably lose my temper and give them some ammo to use against me. But even if I sat in that car and after a while I got mad and I told them to fuck off, they still wouldn't have, excuse my language, everybody, I try to keep this clean, but every once in a while I just get kind of worked up. And this is one of the ones that really bothers me. I do not like my rights. I've gone through something like this before, and I've been run through the ringer by a bad police officer, a bad police department, and a bad city attorney, prosecuting attorney. So I understand what it feels like, and it really pisses me off. But even if I got nasty with this cop, he would still not have the right to do what he did, and it was more than one, it was 2 or 3 of them. It doesn't matter what I say to him. He has no right to pull me out of that car and beat the hell out of me. No matter what I say, he has no right to do that. I could call him all kinds of names. He doesn't have to do that.
They didn't have any business stopping him to begin with.
No, and then if I did see the first video, which I think I did, because the one where he got beat up, and I think that's where this particular story starts, where they tased him, they broke the glass, pulled him out of the car, tased him, and beat him up. And they beat him up pretty damn good. Lucky he didn't wasn't worse off than what he was. They had said that the dog tagged the car, and he said, "Bring the dog back over and do it again," because it never happened. So we didn't see what happened previous to, the first few minutes before that. I don't know if he wasn't videotaping then. Maybe he started the video once he realized there was a problem, which that's kind of what it looks like. When they actually made him pull over, that's when he started. Maybe he didn't think, because this was like the first time, I guess, that he had a problem, and that's what started his little campaign. But I don't know if I would have done anything different than him, except for I may not have been as nice as him.
Well,
go ahead.
There's a podcast called Rule of Law Radio. Hang on, I'll get the name up for real. But anyway, it's a former deputy sheriff that has this radio show, and he covers searching and tickets and how they're all illegal and stuff. But anyway, one of the things he pointed out once is one of the things they train drug dogs is how they have a signal that the dog will alert.
Yeah, if they can train the dog for this other stuff, they can give him a signal nobody can even see properly that make him alert when it's not supposed to.
He said they all have that training. So they can, if they want to search your car, they just give the signal to the dog to alert, and they can say, "Look, see the dog's alerting. You must have drugs in there, so we're going to search it."
Mm-hmm. And I know for a fact there's plenty of good police officers out there, but there's some that if you question their authority, they go off on you. They get mad. They take it personally. You're something wrong with you. And if you pull me over and you want to search my car, and I say no, and you treat me like that means I'm guilty, you're an idiot. That's my right. I don't have to let you search anything. And if you're listening to this podcast, and you're one of those types that think, well, if you tell a police officer no, you're hiding something. I don't have to give him my driver's license if I'm not the driver. I don't have to identify who I am in any way if I don't want to.
Well,
I don't have to let him in my house, my car, anything if I don't want to. Not unless he's got a search warrant.
Well, one of the things you're not a driver.
What about if you're not a driver?
You're not a driver. You're never a driver.
Operator.
If you look in Black's Law Dictionary, the definition of a driver is a person that's being paid to haul or transport cargo. And all the laws, that's why these traffic laws are actually commercial laws.
Right.
And they tell you, you're driving, but you're not driving. You're traveling. You're just a traveler. But anyway, that's one of the things I saw. I mean, actually, you can go to YouTube and find a lot of videos where people that know and understand these laws, these police actually know this stuff. And if you know the law well enough, you can drive away from any of these traffic stops.
Yeah, and that's what I have seen. I've watched a lot of these type of videos, and there's this. Some of them don't handle it right. They don't know the law well enough to back the cop down, so they don't. Like the one I was watching earlier, the guy kept asking, and this is not the preacher one. The guy, it was at a checkpoint, and they were looking, it was for the Border Patrol stuff, and they were looking for drugs and illegal aliens and all that kind of stuff. Well, anyway, they ended up over on the side, and it was the passenger that this police officer was talking to in the video, and the police officer wanted the passenger's driver's license, identification, whatever, and they wanted to search the car. They wanted everybody to get out so they could run the dogs through there without, being interfered with by the people in the car. And they didn't want to get out. And the cops kept saying, if you don't get out, I'm going to drag you out. please exit the car, sir, and would you get out, sir? And he always put it as a question, and he wouldn't answer it when the guy would say, does that mean I have to get out? The police officer would never tell him he had to get out. He was telling him he would get out or he would pull him out. And he kept asking him to get out, but never told him to get out. Now, this guy just didn't handle it quite right. And in the long run, he got dragged out, didn't get beat up, but then he gave him his ID. Now, I guess by then he just gave up, didn't know what else to do, wasn't informed enough to know what else to do. But, it led to me to another video, and this is one that's happened to me one time. I'm out on the front porch, and I'm cleaning one of my guns, and I live in a small town. And we used to do this all the time when we were kids. We'd walk up and down the streets. We'd have our shotguns with us or rifles or whatever, and we'd be going to a buddy's house and, walk out back and go out to the field and go hunting. Now, this particular time, this is much more recently, since we've gotten some police officers that are not quite the same as they used to be, for lack of a better description right now. These are new cops, more gung-ho, younger, and these are the type that if you don't do what they want, they take it personally. Now, nothing really happened here. It was just an exchange of words. Anyway, I'm sitting out front, and I've got my pistol over on the side, and I've got my shotgun out, and I'm cleaning. I'm sitting on my front porch. Well, I guess somebody drove by, didn't like it, called the cops. Here come the cops. And they come over, and one of them was really cool, a little bit older, and I told, hey, this is my house, my property. I'm not even out where the border, I wasn't even near the road, so they couldn't say I was on city property. I was on my front porch. And, the older police officer got there later, and the younger ones got there a little bit faster, and they were giving me a pretty hard time about it. And I said, look, this is my house. You need to leave. I'm sitting on my front porch cleaning my guns. If somebody drives by and they don't like it, I don't care. I don't want you here. I didn't call you here. You need to leave. You need to leave now. And this is the second time I've had a problem with a police officer on my property doing what he shouldn't be doing. But when the older police officer got there, he told him to leave, and he walks over to me and he apologizes. Cool. And I talked to him about that, what would happen next time they called. Because I said, I'm going to sit on my front porch and clean my guns anytime I want to. I said, normally I do it on the back porch, but it was really hot, and the breeze was coming from the front of the house, and there was no breeze in the back of the house. So I was sitting on the front porch, and he said, next time, he goes, I'm going to talk to him. I'm going to tell him, next time something like this happens, if it does happen again, you just drive by to see if it's him sitting there on the front porch, and that's what the caller was about. You don't need to approach him again. I don't know what's going to happen again next time, but the older police officer handled it fine. He saw that there was no big deal, so it was over with, and he explained to the other police officers. Hopefully they learned their lesson. But there was one of them that it was the same damn one that pulled me over a while back, and I call him Barney Fife. And I think I've said this story before, but it was the younger one was the same one, and he was really getting an attitude. He's going to be a problem for this town. And I don't know if I need to go to City Hall and talk to a couple of people or not, and I don't know if it would do any good. I'm debating that right now. I just don't like it. Come give me a hard time because I'm sitting on my front porch. The way the older police officer, the third one, because it was two came together, the younger ones, the way he handled it was right. There was a call. Somebody told him that there was somebody with a gun out on this street. They should come by and investigate. But once they saw me sitting on my front porch cleaning my guns,
you know where they get that from, though, don't you?
Well,
you watch all these TV shows, and everybody thinks you're not supposed to own guns.
Oh yeah, but if you're a police officer, you know better. So you should know how to handle it, and they should have handled it the way the third one did.
You did do what I did, right?
What did you do?
You sold all your guns, didn't you? You did sell.
Yeah, they're all gone, every one of them.
Yeah. I know I went and bought one today and sold it already.
Yeah, well, I got one coming in Monday morning, and I got another guy about 10 minutes after that. He's going to come by and pick it up, and I'm going to sell it to him. And now they'll say, hey, you're selling guns to people. You're buying guns and selling them to people. That's illegal. They'll say, well, find a receipt.
Yeah.
And find where I bought the gun, because I don't think I'm going to be buying guns from any dealers anymore. Just too much paperwork, too much bullshit. And then there's plenty of people that have had a gun that I want, and they're wanting to go to a different gun. So this just, they sell theirs, and then it's the one I want, so I can just buy it from them, save a few bucks. And it doesn't take much to figure out whether a gun's any good or not. I mean, I know enough about guns. Most of them I can have apart in a fairly short period of time and be able to tell whether they're in good shape. I mean, it doesn't take much to tell if the gun's got a lot of use on it and whether it's in good shape or not.
Right.
The only thing is making sure that they're not a stolen gun you're purchasing. Luckily, I have a couple friends that can take care of that for me. All I got to do is give them a call, give them a number, and they'll tell me. No paperwork to trace back to find out. So, yeah, I sold them all.
I sold them to Jesse Ventura.
Yeah.
He bought them all.
The gun control. Gun control. I like gun control.
Actually, I just put
I like being able to hit the center of that target.
Yeah, I just put a link up there on proof the UN's plan on banning American guns.
Hey, what if they come up with an executive order saying the government had a right to take your guns in a time of emergency?
Well, they already do that.
They'll try to do that, but
they've already done that. Look in Louisiana during the hurricane.
Well, now there was actually a lot of National Guard people that wouldn't go along with that.
I know that, but there was enough to make a big deal.
There was enough to make a big deal out of it.
Yeah.
While the cops were looting.
The
National Guard was confiscating guns, and actually one woman that they know of was killed by looters. They took her gun away from her, and that night she was killed by looters.
Yeah, I remember. I don't remember her name, but I remember the story.
Yeah.
So what was the basis for them taking the guns? Did they say? I mean, did they?
They claimed that because of all the looting.
Yeah.
Wait, so they're going to take the guns?
Yeah.
Because of the looting.
Hey, it doesn't make sense. You know that. I know that.
The only people they should have been taking the guns from would have been the looters that they caught in the act.
Yeah.
As they were putting them in jail. Or
putting them in a body bag.
Right. Just like any other criminal act.
Exactly.
Why all of a sudden we throw the laws out?
Hey, go look at D.C. They got some of the strictest gun laws, but they got more people being killed by guns.
But that was nothing more than a test. That's all it was.
Oh yeah, and they didn't give you a receipt for it either. These people didn't get their guns back for the most part. There was a few that did, but they had to jump through hoops and go through hell to get them back.
No wonder the guys didn't get shot trying to take the guns.
Yeah, I'm surprised that more of that didn't happen. I think most people were probably just so tied up and so in the emergency themselves that they just did not expect that situation, and it was too late to really do too much.
Yeah.
When a police officer, National Guard, whatever, comes to your door in an emergency like that, you probably don't have your gun pointed at them asking them why they're there. And if you didn't have your gun in hand, loaded and ready to go,
what are you going to do?
Then they had the drop on you, and so. Because there was some stories where the police officer, as soon as they opened the door, they had a gun on the person, whether they knew who the person was or not. So.
Yeah. Well, of course they're going to take their gun. I mean, I'd want to have my gun up before I take someone else's gun.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's.
Yeah, but say you're at your house, and like at my house, if I can see out the front window at the door, so I would see a police officer's car there. I wouldn't think to have my gun pointed at him when I open the door.
No, but my point is, if the cops are wanting with their guns raised, it's because they know they're going to be taking your gun.
Yeah, and when I open the door, I wouldn't be expecting that cop to have a gun pointed at me.
Yeah,
so,
me neither.
And the only way to fight back then was you would have to have the gun pointed at him when you open the door.
Right.
And you both shoot each other.
Right.
But most people are not going to have that. They're not be expecting that police officer to have the gun pointed at them when they open the door. And, you know, if you've got a lot of people have a door where they just got the little peephole, well, you're probably not looking down low, and most of them you can't see that low if they had the gun, depending on how close they are to the door. So, yeah, they just caught them by surprise. I think it won't happen again, not by surprise, because something happens again, there's too many of those people are going to realize that somebody might be coming to confiscate my gun that shouldn't be doing it. So I'll be ready for them type deal.
Yeah.
All right. I think. Go ahead, Al.
You can only post like 2 lines in in the text, Phil.
In the chat room?
Yeah. Look, you were talking about executive orders and the UN treaty. Treaties involving any explicit protected rights of the people, state, or the country under the Constitution will always be protected by the Constitution. The issue of whether treaties overwhelm the Constitution was specifically considered by the U.S. Supreme Court in the case of Reed versus Covert, 354 U.S. 1, 1957. The court rules no agreement with a foreign nation can confer on Congress or any other branch of the government power which is free from the restraint of the Constitution.
Right. They can't take our rights away, our constitutional rights away by treaty.
And the reason I say that is because I've been seeing news broadcasts and news articles saying that if they pass this UN ban on small arms, it will affect our, it will trump it will do away basically with the Second Amendment.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me either, because what you were just saying is what I've always understood. The treaties can't do that.
Right.
And they knew that back when they wrote it. They knew that kind of stuff would happen. They did it on purpose.
Yeah, but they're trying to convince us that it does.
But that's just another topic that if it goes to, that we're going to hear that, and we're going to have to say, no, it's bullshit. It's a lie. It's not true.
Right.
Because they've been doing that all along, though. They try to convince people that something is legal and right when it's not. But we don't have enough people. We got too many newspapers and newscasts that are communist. Yeah. And I mean, that's the easiest way to say it. I could sit here and discredit it in all kinds of different ways, but that's the easiest way to say it. They don't. I don't understand it. It just confuses the hell out of me how these idiots could get so caught up in this kind of stupid shit. Don't they realize what it's going to do to them?
And got to get some reelected, apparently.
No, I mean like a lot of the newscasts and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
These people are sitting there going, yeah, stick it up my rear end. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've been on about an hour. So I think I'm going to call it a night. And unless somebody's got something they want to add in before the end of the show, anybody got anything?
Well, I posted that State Ranger article up on my Facebook, and about a half a dozen people have responded to it.
Yeah, I put it up on mine earlier today, too. Well, I put it on one of the other ones that I frequent that has a lot of it's a fast draw group that has a lot of people from all over Texas, all over the United States and Canada and all over the world in there. So I posted it there. I didn't post it on my personal one. But, yeah, there was some response to it. Yeah. I did that about the same time I emailed y'all with it. All right. I'm going to call it a night. And thanks for coming by. And, again, everybody, this is Politics and Preppers Podcast here at TalkShoe.com, Saturday night, 10 p.m. Central Time. We'll be back again next week. Wasn't here last week, apologize, but I had some guns to go check out up in the hill country. So that's the end of the show for tonight. Thanks for stopping by.